I know it may seem I'm a little slow with this one, but I've just finished playing Defector. I played this game when it first came out, and I've just been wanting to take everything in that I can and play every single choice and route that I can play. Defector is developed by Twisted Pixel, who are responsible for a lot of games that I really enjoyed growing up. Mr. Splosion Man, for example, the More Comic Jumper, Miss Splosion Man, the Gunstringer, and also Wilson's Heart. A lot of these games stuck in my memories, and I've been a really big fan of Twisted Pixel since way back in 2009, and I've really enjoyed almost every single game that they've put out. They've always been somewhat underrated, but they've always been there. For me, they're like a modern day Rare. Every single game that they put out seems to be very different, but at the same time it always sort of seems to be their signature style. It's fun, it's over the top, it's on the nose, and they really have a sense of character when it comes to their games, and I'm glad that they're one of the leading companies when it comes to Oculus Rift and all their exclusive games, because they really seem to be hitting it out of the park every time they've made a VR game. Let's talk about Defector already though. Defector is a spy, espionage, over-the-top action stealth game. This game is many genres in one, but I can tell you something, that this game is a ton of fun. This game has been on my list for a while, and I have been speaking to someone who works at Twisted Pixel on Twitter for a very long time, just sort of getting constant updates, almost like an annoying Doran fan. In this game you play as an unfaced and unnamed agent. You get to choose whether or not you want your hands to be male or female, and that's really as far as customization goes, because in this game you are you. You're you stuck in this situation, telling this story, making these choices and being super cool while you do it. This game tells its stories through an interview / memory sequence where your character's clearly telling what happened in the events and trying to tell this person and let them understand what exactly happened, and this is how they kind of put the choice system into the story without it ruining the future or ruining whatever's going to happen at the end of the game, because it obviously is your character just telling the story and telling your side of the story, and it's making her fully understand what really happened. For me, I'm going to talk about the disappointing things first. This game isn't too long, and you can actually probably be done with it within maybe 6 hours if you want to get everything out of it, find every secret and find every little route that you want to play. But overall, yeah, this game isn't too long compared to Wilson's Heart, which tells you a long, enduring story and which actually makes you feel proper connected to the characters. This game is almost like quick flashes, quick moments and quick scenes of action, and almost different gameplay styles within each chapter, which is totally fine because that's once again almost what Wilson's Heart did. And I've heard people complain about this. I actually heard a review say this game feels unrealised, which actually confuses me, because it's like in VR it's an entirely new platform. You don't have to just give a player one play style. You are the person, you're human. You can do many different things, so why not give them many different play styles to keep the game fresh? If you're forcing someone to do normal over the top active movements for every single mission, it will get stale very quickly. So I find in VR that actually doing it like this and giving the player something different to do almost every level makes the game feel a little bit more immersive and makes it feel more real, and actually not as mundane as you would find just playing a game that has the same gameplay mechanics over and over again. So I kind of feel like actually Twisted Pixel kind of realised what VR is and what you can do here. It's not about sticking to one thing. You can entirely go off the routes, but as long as the players are still enjoying the game, that's really all that matters. A good example is this one mission. You're on an airplane trying to work out the best way to escape, whether or not you want to take a car and fly off the airplane, or if you just want to jump out and see if you can land on another airplane across the way. And then the next mission you're sitting down playing blackjacks or playing that dice throwing game that David Jones plays in Pirates of the Caribbean. What's it called? But then after this you're chasing after a man in a fist fight and a balancing game, and then you're also giving a man a massage, and then goes into interrogation, and it just shows how different gameplay can be in VR. It shows that it doesn't have to stick to one thing. To say that this is unrealised is insane. No, this isn't unrealised. This is the future of gaming, and this is what VR is. But while we're on the subject of gameplay, let's talk about the gunplay. So how does this game handle action? This game handles it very well. And actually being stuck in gunfights really gives me vibes of early Time Crisis, where you're just shooting out scripted enemies who are jumping from behind corners, and then when you kill them, they react in a way that seems realistic or even over the top. But at the same time, that's what gives this game's action an edge over everything else, is just how visceral and how engaging it really feels, and that's really all down to these animations. And I feel like this is a proper love letter to the light gun era, and even more importantly, maybe just a love letter to Time Crisis overall. VR is almost like the next step to what a light gun is. Light gun really was virtual reality back in the early days, where you feel like you're engaged and you're a part of the game that you're playing. And of course VR came by, and for the longest time I've always said that Time Crisis would be perfect for VR. If they could reboot it and almost give off the same action and energy that they gave back on the light guns and the arcade games, it would really work in VR, and I really feel like Time Crisis could make a massive comeback. But then this game came out and showed me exactly how good of an idea that could be. Unlike other VR first person games where the gunplay actually wants to focus on realism, which is completely understandable and does feel great when it's needed, this game goes for the simple route. Yes, you have to manually reload your gun, but it's only a touch of a button and then putting a clip into the gun. The guns also all have secondary fire, which are fun, over the top, and also something you would expect out of a spy movie, and this is something that this game does different with the gunplay. Most other gun games, you sort of want to be John Wick. For example, Blood Trail. You're going to go through that game, you're going to be thinking you're John Wick, you're going to think you're Punisher. But in this game, I don't think that's what's key. In this game, it feels like you have to take your time. You have to really take in the enemy's placements and prepare to take the shot and clear them out as quick as possible without having to be over the top stylistic. And once again, it just feels perfect for that light gun example where enemies are diving out of corners, and every time you have to reload, it feels like you're missing something. It feels like you're missing a voice in the background that's going to be like, reload, action. Like, that's exactly what I need. And it's something that really gives this game a lot of energy and really makes it stick out of the crowd from other first person shooters in the VR platform. One of my personal favourite missions is going through the hotel, and seeing the enemies swarm you from hotel rooms is ridiculous. It's over the top. Seeing them rappel down from the rooftops in ways that really don't even make sense is a ton of fun, and being able to feel like you're a Terminator walking through this hotel and just using a shotgun and shooting enemies out of windows and just seeing how their bodies interact with the environment, which once again it gave me the vibes of a Time Crisis game. To see how scripted these enemies are. Of course you can kill them before they get to their scripted set dead placement, as I'm going to call it, where an enemy dies interacting with an environment looking cool and looking like it's cinematic, which gives the game a real sense of immersion and almost gives it a real sense of cinematic energy. I really think that this game has really nailed what it means to be a great first person shooter in VR because of this, because of the animations and because of the quality of the gunplay. It's a ton of fun and it really is simple, to the point, and just hits right back at home. And for example, that is why I think it's a love letter to the light gun era, or more importantly, Time Crisis or House of the Dead. And I kind of feel like I know where Twisted Pixel is going with this, and I don't know if it was intentional or not, but if you've ever played Wilson's Heart, that game is once again another love letter to the Hammer horror films, the old horror movies of the past, and it really does show that they love and they know exactly what they're talking about. So whatever Wilson's Heart was, that was the past, Defector is the present, and almost quite poetically put right at the end of this game, whatever next is the future, and I'm really excited to see what happens with that. But once again, it's also reminiscent of games like GoldenEye or even Perfect Dark. I mean, even look at the health placement, which is suspiciously kind of like how GoldenEye's health bar comes up on the side, or even similar to games like Time Splitters. And the gadgets here feel like something right out of a Perfect Dark game, being fun, over the top, kooky, and once again, having that second fire. I'm not saying that this is original and it's never been done before, and it's clearly just a reference to Perfect Dark or whatever, but once again, it really shows who their inspirations are and who their audience is and who they're trying to really engage with, and I really do appreciate that. It's a ton of fun and it is incredible, and it really relates back to me saying that these guys are almost like the modern Rare, and I almost hope and feel like they know it. They know exactly who they are and they know exactly what they're capable of. You're probably looking at the action in this game, especially the plane scene for example, and thinking to yourself, I can't play VR normally, let alone whatever this over the top crazy shit is. Trust me, this game for some reason handles it perfectly fine. You won't ever feel sick while playing this game. Well, at least personally I didn't, and I got sick from some very simple games. But this game somehow doesn't make you feel sick at all. I don't know if that's whether or not they added some effects which happen in the background, which somehow just sort of correlate with your brain and tells your brain, hey, it's all fine, or whatever. But whatever they did here, it was genius, and it's so easy to sit through this game, feel engaged, and not have to worry about motion sickness of the slightest. And as I mentioned earlier, this game is short. Of course, it's as short as you really want it to be, depending how fast and how long you're going to be playing this game for at every set time. But you can be done with this game within 6 hours. But this game also has a ton of collectibles that you have to do challenges during missions, which is a great way to show the player every single different way of playing a mission, and also keeping them on the toes looking for new things, or even making them go back through the game using cheat codes, which is once again reminiscent of the GoldenEye days. But really what I'm trying to say here is Defector is totally worth your time if you have an Oculus Rift. It's a ton of fun. It really hits back at home if you especially grew up during the 90s like I did. If you're into spy espionage movies, then this one's right up your alley. And for a game that's only £16 over here in the UK, it's 110% worth it. Personally, don't think it's as good as Wilson's Heart, and I think Wilson's Heart was way more engaging, and for me personally, I felt like it's a lot more heartfelt and stayed with my memories a lot longer. But this game is incredible, and I totally recommend picking up both the Twisted Pixels VR games, and I'm really excited to see what they have coming up next. I hope you enjoyed this review, and I just want to very quickly thank everyone who helped me get to 200 subscribers. I'm probably now at 201, I believe. Of course, I understand it's not a lot compared to some people, but for me, that's a massive achievement. I've been wanting to get there for a very long time. It's just been slowly edging. So if you really want to help me to get to 500 or even 300, please feel free to subscribe and like this video. It does help a lot, and it makes me feel great. That's what matters. And I really enjoyed making this and playing this game. I really hope you enjoyed this video. Of course, I'll see you at the next checkpoint. Goodbye. Have a good day.